Hey y'all, sorry about the impromptu video here, but I found out about something tonight and I am, needless to say, beyond infuriated. And so I'm going to record a short video just talking about it. I will start with, I haven't read the whole thing through, but the parts I have read and the information, the research I've already done is extremely disturbing. For those of you that have not heard, and of course, yeah, Gemini's going to get in the way now. But for those of you that have not heard, the Department of Transportation, oops, sorry, hand in the camera, just passed some new regulations regarding service animals on airplanes. And just, most people don't realize this, but as far as air travel goes, it's actually not the Americans with Disabilities Act that applies for the airplanes themselves. It's the Air Carrier Access Act, which has followed a lot of the regulations have followed most of what the ADA has over time. One issue that I'll get to in a minute, there have been some distinctions that have bugged me over time, but most of them have been pretty decent. However, they just passed new regulations. Wow. First of all, for those of you that did not know, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, there are two recognized animals that can be service animals. It's a dog or a miniature horse. You can't limit breed on the dogs. And of course, miniature horse, you know, they've got a little bit about, there's some information in there about sizes and stuff, but it's not actual, like, it doesn't actually ban from a different size. But bear in mind, I know of several service miniature horses, and they're all smaller than Gemini, just for the record. He's a big boy. But anyway, so first of all, these new regulations related to the Air Carrier Access Act are not allowing service miniature horses on airlines at all anymore. I know several service miniature horses that have flown without an issue. Like I said, this guy's flown and he's bigger than them. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Discriminatory, just beyond ridiculous. Next issue. They are now allowing airlines to require that you keep your service dog only in the handler's foot space. Or they can either put the dog under the airplane in a crate for free, or you have to purchase an additional seat. Okay, just a guesstimate, I'm willing to guess that probably over 90% of all service dogs are large and giant breed. They're not small. Can they fit under a single seat or in it? Some, yes. I mean, I'm sure some of them, a lot of them can curl up, but to put that type of limitation, you know, and in there it actually specifies, because there were some issues. Some airlines a couple of years ago wanted to ban certain breeds of dogs from being service dogs on flights. And they came back and said, no, you can't do that. Well, they actually reiterate, sorry, y'all. They reiterate, you can't ban specific dog breeds, but they're banning, especially the giant breeds. There's no way he's going to fit at just my feet, even in bulkhead seating. He's huge. I mean, he fit across, y'all, if y'all haven't seen the video, go watch it. He went across 3 seats. And, you know, I flew Aslan, my chocolate lab, my first service dog, would usually take him about 2. He could curl up a little bit more, but you know, I've never had anybody take issue sitting next to me with either service dog. And so, you know, and it's not hard to accommodate somebody, you know, okay, they don't want a big dog there. Fine, it's really easy for them to switch seats. You can't cram this one. I'm pointing, you can't see it, it's off camera. You can't cram him under a seat or in this little, it's just not possible. And to try to require us to purchase additional seats for that is not acceptable either, because they're not allowed to be in the seat, by the way. You're trying to force service dog handlers to purchase another seat just for the foot area, because the dog's not allowed in the seat. No, just ridiculous. Oh my goodness. And then there's a form. They're allowed to require this form now. It is a 1-page form. First of all, for anybody that's familiar, for businesses, public accommodations that are covered under the ADA, not the ACAA, if the handler does not have an obvious disability, like someone in a wheelchair, they can't even ask this. They can't do anything unless the dog is misbehaving, things like that. But for someone like me, where the disability is invisible, they may ask, is that a service dog? It can, you know, the question could be, is that a service dog for the purpose of mitigating disability? Whatever the version is, it's a yes/no question. Yes. What service or task does he perform to mitigate the disability? Again, you can adjust the question slightly. I mean, they have the question in the regulations in the law. But here's the thing, there's the next section of the law is also very specific about what you, and I'm sorry, I'm shaking. I'm holding this camera out. It's not propped up like normal because I'm so ticked off I couldn't prop it up. Yeah, a little impromptu. Anyway, so for his answer, he alerts to a medical condition. That's all. They can't ask, the law is very specific. You can't ask the nature of the disability. You can ask the handler to have the dog demonstrate what their task is or any of their tasks. That's it. Anything else is discriminatory. And now they want you to fill this out. And they're not asking about the disability, but I printed up, and of course it's out of reach now. But one of the first things on the top is description of the dog, including weight. And so it's really easy for an airline to see a huge dog and say, yeah, no, that's not going to fit. You know, these are what you can do, and that's it. Yeah, no, that's not okay. That's discriminatory. And plus there is a section of, that asks about the name of the trainer and the phone number. Well, here's the thing. Couple things there. Now, they don't have anything that I have seen yet. Again, I haven't read the whole thing. It's like 120 pages, the document. But I haven't seen anything saying, you know, it's only limited to certain trainers and da-da-da. And for those of you that know me, I train my own, but I train service dogs for others. But I'm not with the big org. Now, do I mind putting my name on there? No, but here's the thing. The ADA, you know, other federal law protects owner-trained service dogs. Owner-trained service animals, miniature horses as well. Especially for people with, you know, something like PTSD or an anxiety disorder that they have a service dog for. And we're not talking about ESAs, just for the record. But a tasking service dog, for them to put their name and phone number on that, that's going to be hard to do. Just for the record, you're putting pressure on people with disabilities that is not acceptable. And thus far, and like I said, I'm pretty sure, I want to double check on this, but usually the regulations, once they're published, they go into effect 30 days. I think the publishing officially said the 30th of November. I just heard about it today, and somebody said they saw it yesterday. So whenever it was, I mean, obviously this could change in the next 3 or 4 weeks. But as it stands right now, where they have the form, it's not an accessible form. So those that are visually impaired are going to have an issue filling this form out without help. That's not okay either. I mean, there's so many things wrong. I mean, these new regulations are unacceptable on so many levels. So I would encourage you to contact anyone you can. I will try to get more information. I won't get it before I post the video. I know that because I want to get this up quick. But try to find out who we need to contact, because this is just beyond acceptable. Couple of positives. Please understand, no offense to an emotional support animal, none at all. I know they serve a purpose, but because they have been abused, the new regulations allow airplanes to not allow an ESA, an emotional support animal, without paying a pet fee. Now, you don't have to fill out paperwork from the ESA, but you'd have to pay a pet fee. You know, because of the abuse of that abuse has been far worse than even fake service animals, which I have my own issues with that after flying with this one and seeing the issues I did in the airports. But honestly, they had to do something to regulate it because there's too many issues with ESAs. There have been just too many. Could they have been a little bit different? Yeah, they just decided to do it blanket. But one of my biggest, something I support, I will say I support this. For anyone that did not know, for the Air Carrier Access Act for airlines, it used to be that emotional support animals and psychiatric service animals, so those for PTSD, for anxiety disorders, were grouped together, and you had to have the same doctor's paperwork for a psychiatric service animal, for a task-trained service animal. By the way, Gemini's laying on my lap, that you did for an ESA. I've had an issue with that for years. They finally recognize psychiatric service animals on the same level as because they're all task trained. If it's a service animal, it's task trained, period. That's part of the definition. So kudos for that. Finally, it took them long enough. But the rest of this is so far beyond unacceptable. And by the way, on that form, I did notice something. If you look at the ADA versus the Americans with Disabilities Act versus the Air Carrier Access Act, the ADA, under public accommodations, it actually specifies areas of the airport that are, you know, open to the public, that things like restaurants, things like that aren't owned under the Air Carrier Access Act. It mentions the areas as, you know, those owned or leased by an airline. Well, that's great, but that's not the whole airport. And by the way, oops, I just dropped my drink. Oh, hi, Gemini. By the way, the form is trying to say, and one other big issue, the form is trying to say, well, they're not allowing what the ADA does. If normally the Americans with Disabilities Act, service dog has to be on a leash and harness or collar or tethered unless it impedes the dog's ability to task. And then they just have to be under the control of the handler. Well, on the form, it actually says, and you have to agree, oh, I understand that they have to be, and it says harness, leash, or tethered. I will say that the whole term harnessed could be an opening. We'll see. But it says in an airport and airplane at all times. Well, there's parts of the airport where the ACAA doesn't apply. It's the ADA. So they can't be. So there's so many issues with it. so many issues with these new regulations. I would encourage you to go take a look. Please contact anybody you can, any advocates. Be thinking about and supporting those service animal teams that you know about, especially the service miniature horses right now. I've seen multiple service miniature horses fly. They've been fine. They've been better behaved than plenty of dogs I've seen on planes. So, but just so many issues with these new regulations from the Department of Transportation. It's not okay. They're discriminating. And, for me personally, yes, I plan on doing things I'll probably share with y'all later. I talked to my father-in-law about some stuff tonight. He's an attorney. So I've got a couple of things I'm going to get going on, probably not till after finals in a couple of weeks, but we'll see. But please, anything you can do, speak up. Let everyone know that this is not okay. This is not okay. This is discriminatory. We finally have made so much progress recently with service animals. For those that aren't familiar, it started, the main service animal was the guide dog. And now you've got everything from, you've got guide dogs and hearing alert dogs and mobility assistants and blood sugar alert and diabetic alert that can go both low and high. The autistic service dogs, your PTSD service dogs, your anxiety alert service dogs. There's so many different tasks. Epileptic, the seizure alert service dog. Sorry, I didn't mean to forget anybody. But there's so many tasks that dogs can be trained to perform for disabilities. It's huge, and we're learning more every day. And so to turn around and try to discriminate against the disabled community or parts of the disabled community, it's not okay. It's not okay. I know I've seen people online, we still have, I still have access issues consistently. I just had 2 in the span of a few weeks over the summer. One tried to say, you can't have him in here because I didn't have his vest on. And because we'd been on a trip and I'd forgotten it at home, but it's not required by law. And I tried to explain that. They tried to kick me out until this state, it's actually against criminal law, not just civil law, to deny access. So once I threatened to enforce the criminal law, the manager said, okay, never mind. I hate getting to that point. That was the first time I actually had to go that far. But, and then another place said, well, he has to have the vest on. And he had his vest on that day. But I said, no, he doesn't. People need to understand. No, please. Learn it. Educate yourself. It's, it's not complicated information for the most part on the service animal laws, but discrimination for any disability, but especially for this group, it's just, okay, I'm going to end my rant. Gemini. Hey, you say hi. Well, his whole face in the camera. Sorry, y'all. So yeah, might be quiet for a week and a half or so because of finals, review week and finals, but, I had to go on this rant. I just found out about this tonight. And yeah, so you'll get to see me rant, but, please share, please share. Anything you can, please share this because we need to do something about this. This is not okay. So thank y'all and bye.